Hello, hello. Hi, everybody. Okay, here we go. I am so excited to be here today talking to one of the most inspiring clients who's been on such an awesome journey. Her name is Juliana. She is coming up with me live, and we're going to talk about her break. And she has so many good things to share. This is going to be awesome. So I think Juliana's here, and I think she's joining us. Hey, Juliana, can you? Let's see. I think I just did you. Did it work? Oh, hey, there it is.
Hi, Katrina, I'm here.
Yay! Hello, lady. How are you
I'm
doing?
doing great. What a pleasure to be here with you today. So thank you for inviting me.
Oh my gosh, this is going to be so fun. You have been on such a journey and you have so many great things to share, and just your story is really inspiring. So I'm so grateful for you for making time to do this. And I know anybody that catches this is going to be so inspired by you.
Now, Katrina, thank you. Yeah, no, I tell everybody, I'll just start by saying that Katrina has really changed my life, and I don't say this lightly. You have been really this like beacon of transformation in so many levels, and I'm just really happy to be able to share with the world part of the story that is still unfolding and that
Yeah.
I
Oh my gosh. I'm so happy for this moment. So Juliana, I have questions for you, but first, for the people watching that don't know you, tell us what month are you in on your career break? So kind of tell us where you are now, and then we're going to jump back and kind of like walk through your
yeah.
journey.
I am just starting month 10 of my career break. So basically, I left my corporate job on February 28th of this year. And uh, 3 days I was on a to Europe. Now I'm home. Home is Texas. And yes, month 10.
So good. Okay, Juliana, let's dive in to some of the juicy parts. So there's so many pieces of your story we could talk about because there's so many inspiring aspects, but honestly, I think one of the most inspiring things and one of the things that made you a unique client for me is that you came into this break with fears and concerns like everybody does, but you had the additional challenge of being in a relationship where your partner was not on board, right? And so you had to find the strength and the perspective to take a break, not only without support, but kind of like almost with some resistance or, like some sort of like lack of understanding. And I hear many times, that is a reason people give for not moving forward with planning. And you not only moved forward with the planning, but you actually, took a break. And so I'm curious what that experience was like for you, and also how you kind of found your way, even though maybe the person that you're sharing, this experience in a way with wasn't seeing the vision and wasn't completely on board in the beginning.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll start by saying this. So I'm married, and my husband, he's a very loving man, very supportive of me in so many things that I do. But when it came to take a break, he, as just as you said, he had a lot of resistance. And I think the background here is my husband is he's an engineer, he's very rational. Um, Entering that world of emotions was a very unknown world to him, right? And so for him to, when he looked at my decision to leave a job that was a really great job, that was paying well, with a manager that I liked, with a team that I really liked, to say, hey, I'm going to take a whole year off. I'm going to be traveling Europe, and then figure it out what I'm going to do with my life. He said, this is not a rational decision. This is crazy, right? This is not, you're using your emotions to do something that can have a big impact on our lives together, or in your retirement plan down the road. And he started with all these conversations that's like, he's not wrong. This is exactly that. These are the conversations that I have with myself the whole time, right? And this is why it took
Yeah.
me so long to decide to take a break. But then there's another context here. We were coming out of the pandemic, right? Really tough time where I took the time to do a lot of introspection. And I was in my workplace, there was this major restructuring happening, where my job was going to be impacted. I could or could not retain my job. And there was this whole midlife spiritual awakening happening to me. It's as if all of a sudden, all of these things that I wanted to do, so many desires, I had just been putting them inside a dark closet walking the door, and all of a sudden they were banging. They were like, I need to be released. I need freedom. I need to do these things. And it was like, it's overwhelming. I could not stop listening to that and say, I think I need to honor this, right? So here goes a lot of soul searching. You come into my life. We start doing our coaching. And I think one of the big aha moments that I've had, it was really when I got in touch with this concept of our partners can be our shadow side. You know, they can basically reflect the fears that we have. And my partner was reflecting the fears that I had. He was doing nothing else than just reproducing exactly what I was feeling. And for me, this was a big emotional breakthrough, because I realized that, you know, what if I let go of my fears, will he let go of his fears as well? And so I started this work with you of like letting go. And I never let go completely for a very long time. It took me a very long time. This fear even existed while I was taking my break, right? But what I noticed is that the more I let it go, the more he was getting on board, the more supportive he was becoming, right? So this was really big. And there was also this other thing too, that I also just came to see that I just didn't need, I was in a point where I didn't need to ask permission from anyone else to do this. And this was a very big one for me. It was like, I'm not leaving, you know, we don't have children. So it's like, I'm not leaving any babies being unfed. That you know, the house is going to get paid. Nobody is going to be hungry. You know, the world is not going to end, you know? And I give myself permission to live this dream. So with that, all of making the decision to take the break became so much easier. And
that's so, yeah. And, you know, I just want to add to Juliana, for, you know, people watching that don't know the situation, they might say, oh, but you had a partner. And so once he got on board, like, he paid for everything and it was so easy for you to be on a break. And I just want to give context, like, you know, you are financially contributing as if, you know, basically like as if you're working. So I don't want that to be an excuse either. Like you know, like even though he came to see the vision and kind of understand, you know, what you were doing, like you said, you released your fears, which allowed him to release his fears. You know, you were still financially like contributing to the household and financing your break. And so, you know, even though you're in a partnership, like you carried a lot of responsibility for that, and you really moved through that experience, you know, in the same way that many other people would as well. So it's just, you showed up for your dream in many ways and you invested in it, right?
That's correct. And I do talk about these things because, you know, the way that we ended up coming to an agreement, I mean, I wanted him to say, hey, I'm just going to pay for the bills for this whole
yeah. Yeah.
He said, no, things are not going to change at home. And I understood where he was coming from. And I had to budget myself accordingly, right? And also, just like you said, I could not use him not financially supporting me completely the way I envisioned it, you know, as an excuse not to go and do this thing that was so important to me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So good, Juliana. So, you know, you took the leap, right? So there was resistance. You did so much fear work. It was incredible. I gave you more than I give the average client, and you totally showed up for it. And you really did start releasing your fear. And I think it's important to say, you still had a little bit of fear throughout your break. I think it's normal. It's just that it's not in the driver's seat making the decisions or holding you back. It's like you just allow it to be in the car and sort of sitting in the background, in the back seat, strapped in. But you did take the leap, right? And so you overcame the resistance and the fear stuff to like get to that point. But there was also a lot of your self-identity, so normal, right? Being wrapped up in the amount of money you're making, the job that you have, the position that you're in. And I know that you've done so much work around this, like to get to take a break, but also on your break. But I'm curious, like, how did you really release and let go to do this? And then how did this experience kind of recalibrate how you measure success and how you feel attached or not attached to these things that once felt very inherently part of who you were?
Yeah, that was a big one. So for some context, before the break, my whole life, basically, I've been working in the corporate world. And my ideas of success and of how to make money, how to earn income were really attached to that reality that that I had created for myself. I had to be working in a certain type of company, earning a very specific amount of income. Like I had numbers that were very specific there that needed to meet at least a minimum requirement, right? Like so many of us do. Like a lot of us do that. And it needed to provide with this sense of stability, right? That is exactly like going from a job from 8 to 5, which it was more than 8 to 5, right? A lot of times we were working seasons of my life that I was working in 12, 14-hour days. So before the break, I would say that my relationship to my identity in that sense was very irrational, was very prescriptive. I know I had to meet these certain standards. And what has changed with the break and how I'm looking forward towards the future as I think about what I want to do and how I want to work and how I want to show up, what has changed is that it's really about alignment. It's really this word alignment. It was another word that really showed up strongly, from the coachings that we had. It's about what feels good in my body. Do I feel expansion? Do I feel joy? Then I'm in the right place. Then that's a good place to start, right? Of course, that money is too important. Money, if it wasn't for money, I'll have a very hard time doing the things that I've done. I've been to 2 big trips to Europe, right? I'm being able to afford, not to earn any income at this moment. So money is still, it's very important to me, but it's no longer the first thing on my list about success. Success for me, my measure of success now is about, am I doing something that really lightens me up? Am I doing something that brings me joy? Does it feel like, do I feel like there is this concept of being in my zone of genius, right? It's that zone where things just flow and you don't see the time passing. And I'm creating opportunities for my life to be exactly in that zone for most of the time, right? And,
so good. Yeah.
So, and I'll just give an example of this one. How do I know that this mindset is working right now? Is because, for example, when it comes to work, so I wasn't feeling ready to return to work, right, for a very long time. And the day that I felt ready, within 24 hours, something just very miraculous happened to me. Because, and I see it, why did it happen? Because I was in this mindset of abundance, right? Like good things are going to come my way. I don't know what they look like, but they're going to come my way. And within 24 hours of feeling ready, I was contacted by this former colleague that I haven't had any contact with for like over 4 years. He said, hey, I'm starting this startup, very early stages, but we need somebody to be, with us here working in our marketing campaigns. My background is in marketing communications. And do you want to check this out? And I said, okay, let me check this out. And everything about this opportunity was so different from anything I have done before. In terms of the way that the company is structured, the way that my pay would be, I would receive. And if it was only 6 months ago, I would have said, no way, this is not for me. And now, guess what? I've accepted this offer.
You accepted the offer? I didn't know that. Oh my God, this is so exciting. Congratulations, lady. That's awesome.
I mean, it is incredible. And it just came like that. And even in the beginning, I was hesitant, and I was like, no. There's still these conversations in my head. When you spend so long living with your inner critic, she doesn't calm down completely. She's always chattering. She wants to keep you in your comfort zone. But now with all of the emotional muscle that I have built in this year, it was so much easier to quiet that chatter and just say, no, this feels good in my body. This feels very aligned. And, it's something that I'm testing out. I'm still not close to going back to the corporate world at all. I'm open to it. But the key decision is really going to be about, does it feel aligned? Does it feel good?
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. So because you set this up so beautifully, there's a couple more things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about like the biggest gifts from your break, but I think this is the perfect time to tell people. So again, your story, it's so amazing if we just look at it from like way far up. It's like, wow, Juliana had this amazing break. She did these amazing things, and now she's taking these interesting and exciting new opportunities that stretch her and grow her. But when we come all the way down to reality, to where you are and the perspective you have when you're in it and you're going through it, there have been so many challenges that you just faced, right? You face them, you move through them. And I want to talk about one of those challenges now, because I think it relates to this amazing place of abundance that you were in to call in this opportunity, and it turns out accept it, which is so exciting. But if we flash back and go back just, 2 or 3 months before, there was this point when we were working together where you tried to early exit, as I call it, your break, right? And I remember, so we do a lot of our coaching on Marco Polo, and I just remember getting a Marco Polo update from you about like, you were back on the job search and you were like, it's good, I feel ready, it's fine. And it was like the energy in your video was like, I'm doing the things and I'm watching that. And so could you tell us a little bit about the context of that early exit and why you wanted to early exit, and kind of like how you ended up not? So just walk us through that, because I think that's important. People could so relate to that.
Absolutely. So the context is this. I mentioned that my company was going through a major restructuring where my job was impacted. Towards the end of that process, I was offered a chance to stay, or I could leave with a severance package. So I chose to stay for like 6 months longer and get my package at the end of that. And with the package came this really awesome benefit, which was a career placement benefit, right? But it was one of those use it or lose it deals with a specific timing. So this is what I negotiated with them. I said, look, with the career placement program, I said, I'm going on these trips. I'm going to be in Europe. And while I'm there, I don't want to be focusing on this because I really need to focus on this part of my trip. When I come back later on, I'll start this. So I went to Europe in March. I was there for 3 months, came back to the States. Then I went back to Europe for another month. So in September, it was like, I have to start now or I'm going to lose this. And I knew that there was going to be benefits for me to work with this placement program, because they would help put together my resume, then update my my LinkedIn profile, put me back into, what to do in a job interview, that kind of stuff, right? Which there is a lot of value that comes out of that. But here's what happens too. The company was incredible. Their coaches are amazing, but there is this underlying energy of, you need to get yourself together now to find a job, It's like,
yeah.
And why do they do that? Because this is how they measure their own success. They want to place people back in with a job, right? So I just sucked in that energy, like I drank it from a fire hose, like so great that all this part of me that part of me that had found chill and found flow and found, just being in the moment, just went offline. And this other part of me that is all about action, performance, get things done, got completely back online, right? But it was toxic. It was toxic because all of a sudden I'm doing a gazillion to-do lists, and every day during my break, this is like month 6 of my break, I am just scratching off these to-do lists, and I'm doing this, and I'm signing up for these classes. And I started to be in this energy of fear. Oh my God, am I going to find a job? And really having these, sabotaging thoughts, like that we all have, by the way, right? But I was just letting that consume me. So the impact of that was that I was anxious, I was exhausted, I was irritable, I couldn't sleep well at night. I was like binge watching Netflix, numbing myself, and eating chocolate and drinking more wine than what I should, at times. And it's like, because all of a sudden I was like totally off balance. And you caught that. You said, hey, lady, here comes Katrina with her hero cape, I like to think of you as like with that, Juliana, you totally came with an intervention and said, what the heck are you doing, lady? It's only month 6 of your break. You're supposed to take the entire year off. Why are you doing this? And it was the shakeup that I really needed at that time, because I said, okay, I'm going to pause this, or I'm going to start to look at this. How can I look at this differently? How can I look at this as something that I can do now, have fun with it, and then use these resources for when I'm ready to return to the workplace? But it was a process, right? So basically what I had to do is I had to shut everything down for me. I had to stop doing to-do lists. I had to say, I'm going to wake up every morning, and in that moment, I'm going to go back to my body. By that, I mean, I'm going to go back to what feels right in my gut, to what feels right in my heart. What is it that I want to do today? And really the transformation started to occur when I started to tune back again into my body, into my intuition, and say, today I want just to go for a walk. Today I do want to watch my Netflix and be okay with that. Today I want to actually take that online course that I signed up for. And so my relationship to doing things started to change again. And guess what? My productivity started going through the roof, because I wasn't putting myself pressure to get those things done, right? So I say that this is the context. And then once I finally settled into that, when I started doing the career placement program again, I came in from a completely different perspective. I started to find joy in it. It was no longer like it's horrible. Oh my God, I have to do this thing. It was like, no, this is actually something really cool that's going to help me out. And you know what? I don't have to do anything right now. I can just chill. I can work on my resume for when it's ready, leave it there, and and let it go and let it flow.
Yeah. I think what's incredible about, that experience too is like, exactly to your point, it was useful, but you had to come with the right energy and the right perspective to make it work for you versus you trying to work for it. And I think that is so, like, it was clearly your brain deciding for you the right way to do it, right? Like there was a right way, and your brain is like, we have to maximize, we have to attend this webinar, we have to do this by this day. And so it's basically being in this energy of trying to do it right and trying to think your way through, you know what I mean? Versus I think the shift for you was that coming back into yourself and like, honoring, like, I'm not feeling this today and I still am on a break, and it's okay. Like, I don't have to be afraid. I remember one of the things that you said to me during this time was like, almost as a fact, was like, I've got to start this now because it could probably take a few months to find a job, right? And it was that idea, like, I've got to do all this work because it's going to take so long and be so hard to find the opportunity, and I'm going to be like, people they're not going to know me, I'm going to have to like re-network. And to your point, when you were really truly ready, like you did some work to prepare, but when you were really truly ready in that energy of like, yes, this is for me now. It's not from fear. It's from like what's really true for me right now. You called in an opportunity that you ended up taking. And it wasn't months of struggle, and it wasn't months of searching and having a bunch of people ask you, why were you on this break? I don't understand. It doesn't make sense. Like, sell me on why you're valuable. And I just think that is so incredible how that shift, that little but very powerful shift, made so much difference. And watching you go through that was incredible. And I think I love you honoring what is true for you. And I have said this before, and like the last thing I want to say about this, because I think it's important, it was like the old you had shifted and shaped on this break. And so when you were in personal time, you learned to be free, right? You learned to live in alignment. You learned to just let even more of your authentic self out and to find the joy. But there's this dormant, very like high performing, ambitious part of you, that's the work part of you, that hadn't been online, right? We turned it off. You're on a break. And the second that we like pushed the button to restart the machine, it like jumped up and it was like, I'm here, I'm ready. What did I miss? Let's do this. And so you had to learn to like heal and rework, right? And sort of like let that part have its time and kind of reshape your relationship with that part of yourself too. And I think that's what you did, so that you can have a different way of experiencing your personal and professional life, right? A different way of being post career break. And I thought that was so cool to watch you be so open to really coming back to yourself and figuring out what's true for me and how do I want to experience this change.
No, Katrina, absolutely. Thank you. And I'll say one more thing on that, is that I really want this episode to be a reminder of how life can be moving forward, right? Mm-hmm. Not the thing that just happened in the past, because I'll be faced with other challenges You know, this is life. We go through life with challenges. And I just now, but now what's the difference is that I'm in tune, that I do have this part of me that can be reactivated. But how I choose to show up, you know, and like my response time to come back to a place where it doesn't have to be so hard, it's much faster now. And I really hope that this is how things continue, right? I don't want to I say this is how things continue.
I love that so much. And I think that's a beautiful segue, Juliana. I mean, we're going to talk about the gifts from your break, but you know, tell us about this new you. Like, you started a blog, and not just like a piddly little blog. Like, you have created this masterpiece. I mean, even your photos for your blog like blow my mind. But you know, you part of this new way of being, right? I feel like is creating this, using this outlet to share, to inspire, but also to create, because I know that's part of who you are, and you have a gift with words, especially, you know, I think both oral and written, but like you definitely have a way of writing. So tell us about this blog, like, you know, kind of why does it exist and who is it for and why should we check it out?
Yeah, let me give some context about the themes that I worked on with you for my career break, because I think the blog really explores all of them. So when, you know, part of the framework is like, okay, let's come up with the themes that make sense for me personally, right? Mm-hmm. And for me, it was explore, which was related to traveling. So I had this intense desire to travel to places that I haven't been before, you know, out in the world. The second one was the theme of express and create, where I really had my writing in, you know, it was something that I wanted to do. And initially I really thought that I wanted to write a novel, you know, continue a novel that I had started 6 years ago, right? So this is what it was. Yeah. And then there was this theme of dolce far niente, which is Italian for the sweetness of doing nothing. Because I'm, you know, always so busy. This energy of get things done has been so strong in my life, and I needed to learn how to chill. And the fourth one was shift into new ways of being, because I was already on this spiritual path of like, look, I think I want to feel more empowered and empowering, to really feel good in my skin. You know, like I sense that I'm my biggest judge, and I wanted to really learn how to tame this inner critic, or be in a place where I could make choices differently from what I was doing to minimize suffering, right? To minimize the suffering we all have. So those are my four themes. And okay, so I go on these trips. I spent this beautiful time in all these countries in Europe. You know, Europe was the region that I chose. I went to 12 countries in a total of 4 months. Had all these incredible experiences. And while I was there, I was posting things on social media, but maybe I did 2 blog posts in this old blog that I had. But I really felt that there was more to do with that. You know, how am I going to tell the story of this? But I chose to really focus on my novel, until I finally realized that, like, you know what? It's not the novel that I want to write. This novel will come, just not right now. I'm going to pause it. What is really showing up for me is to do this blog. And this blog, it's called globaljuliana.com, which is my Instagram feed as well. It's at globaljuliana. And it's really, I'll start by saying it's really this labor of love, where one, I am putting together, it's a way for me to process all of the experience that I've had in this career break. So this is what it does for me. It's a way to really bring this newfound way of being to light. Like, I've rediscovered my self-expression and freedom in being who I am, right? I think that for so long, I have, well, I'm going to use the metaphor that you helped me come up with this metaphor of the sparkly dress. I'm this person who's very bubbly, and, you know, I am self-expressed. I am a communicator, right? I can be super goofy at times, but I was always, my whole life, always afraid to really bring all of this to the forefront. There were moments that I'll bring it, but so often, and more often than not, I would just put this heavy coat on. To hide the sparkly dress, especially if I was in situations where I thought I needed to match the energy of the room. You know, if the room was in a lower energy, I had to put my coat on and be in that lower energy too. And you helped me see that like, hey, I can have my sparkly dress on, you know, I don't have to hide what I have and who I am and the voice, you know, the way I speak. Like I would say that in my writing, I speak a lot. People say it's very poetic, melancholic. I think even there was but and I was actually embarrassed a little bit of that. You know, I had these things in my head, think, what if people think of this and this of me? Are they going to think that, you know, what? So I was there with the sparkly dress, but putting the heavy coat on the whole time, writing my previous blogs. And I wouldn't even post many pictures of me in my previous blogs at all. It's like, I didn't. So with this new me, this theme of new ways of being, it just made this blog, this new blog, globaljuliana.com, just, it was really the physical the physical statement of all of these things that I've learned and pick up throughout the year, of my self-expression, of my my femininity, you know, of being cool about being who I am, of not being afraid to put my face way up there in the front, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is what it did to me. But now, why should people check it out? Why isn't that for other people? I'm really doing this one. It's still new. So just for context, I launched a blog less than a month ago, like actually like 2 weeks ago. So I'm building context. I'm putting content every week there. I'm putting travel tips for the places that I visited, travel stories, where this more poetic, I'm putting in quotes, but just what people call me, right? This poetic voice shows up. And I really want this to be a place where people can find encouragement to follow their dreams, because by following mine, by saying no to all these excuses that I gave to myself, I'm creating this life that like it feels so good and lively and free and authentic and aligned. And whether it's people like to travel or they don't like to travel, I hope they found this common thread of humanity, of overcoming your own barriers, somebody else's barriers, you know, and find that in there through my tips, through my stories. And this is what I want. And when I write this, I also write a lot with like women from my age in mind, right? So I am 46 years old. And even for me to say this is a major thing, because I would say that a lot of women out there have this fear of even showing up how old they are, because we're supposed to be young and we're supposed to be pretty all the time. And I remember when I start telling people that I'm turning this age, people be like, oh my God, oh, okay. But the moment that you start saying it, it's like, why should I be, it's another thing, why should I be neglecting this part of me? I've lived all these years, you know, I've done all these things. This is where I'm at. And it comes with bitterness, and it comes with sweetness, you know, and it comes with all of these things that we're just supposed to let them flow through us. So I write a lot thinking of this middle age threshold, you know, for women to feel encouraged to do this, and also don't use their age as an impediment to do the things that they want to do.
Yeah, and you know, I've seen some of your blogs, so also like you've already created so much content, and I think it's a really awesome mix of reflecting on your break, sharing not just pieces of your experience, but also I think people that are considering a break. It's so informative. You tell a really sort of like real life behind the scenes version of what, you know, your process was like. So it's informative and inspiring in that way, and then you also have these fun travel experiences and adventures and tips and things. So I think it's a beautiful weaving of multiple things that create this sense of inspiration and information for someone wanting to go on a journey of, you know, finding more freedom or finding more alignment and really just sort of creating a life that feels even more delicious to live. So I hope people check it out. So it's globaljuliana.com, right? That's your blog?
That's right.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So love it. People will check it out. It'll be amazing. So Juliana, let's end this on a high note. Like, tell us, you know, month 10, apparently you've accepted this startup job, which is so exciting. I got to talk to you more about this later. But tell us, like, what do you feel like were the biggest gifts from this time off? Like, what did you really get from this experience?
Yeah. I think I've already mentioned a few of them. So if you want me to expand on, I can. But like, I definitely, the self-expression piece, self-acceptance, self-love, and this ability to in a much faster time, quiet my inner critic, because she's still there. She doesn't go away. She doesn't go away. But I listen to her, but I'm also able to quiet her and go back to a place of, hey, you just want to keep me safe, but I have, other plans for myself. So there is that piece. Definitely, like I said, being in touch with my body and my intuition and my gut, doing things that feel right and feel in alignment. Another huge one, I alluded to it, but I didn't specifically mention it, was really rediscovering and reclaiming my feminine energy, which I also owe so much to you, Katrina, for bringing that to the forefront. So for context here, for people who are not familiar with this, we all have feminine and masculine energies within us, whether you're man, woman, or anything in between. They're both good, and they both can be toxic if you have too much of one versus too much of the other, right? So you need to find a balance in between them. And so masculine energy is all about, it comes from a place of being rational and logic and getting things done and action and achieving things, which comes very handy for me when I want to perform at work, or when I created my blog, for example. I created that blog in 4 weeks, right? From beginning to end, I got that thing done. From thinking what I could be, the themes, from putting together content, it works for me that. But when it's off balance, it can be about overpowering and dominance. And I've had this my whole life, a lot of masculine energy within me. And the results were they really, it ended up causing me, I'd say, not being in my best zone of feeling aligned and feeling in flow, which are all aspects of feminine energy. Feminine energy relates to creativity. So women give creation to the world, and it doesn't have to be if it's from birth, but it doesn't have to be about making babies. It's creating projects, it's creating new things for your life. It's about flow, it's about nurturing and acceptance. And so I got in touch with that, a lot during my break, to really exactly when I feel like that example that I gave earlier of the career placement program, and how I got this masculine side of myself really completely back to the surface. I had to go to my feminine powers to slow it down, to say I need to live in flow, So that's.
And your feminine energy is about attracting too. So I think it's interesting when you did that, you attracted an opportunity instead of feeling like you had to go chase it down for months and months, right? Like when it came to the job kind of found you. And I think that's a big piece of the feminine energy too, is you're doing, but in a way that's in flow, so that you're calling in things to you versus singularly focused, going out and getting it. And I think both have value, but it's just I thought it was such an interesting end to your journey in that, and knowing that really honoring and allowing that feminine energy to come in and to be something powerful was kind of part of your journey. And so it was a fun way to kind of end the break as far as finding a career, to be able to call in this amazing, interesting, exciting opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I wrote a few things, like a heart center approach, to things, to allowing this feminine energy to create opportunities for me, but for others in their lives as well. So I'm seeing that, for example, with my partner, with my husband, when I don't tell him what to do, when I simply say, this is how I'd like for things to do, this is how I'd like to feel, I give him a chance to come up with things that blow my mind away, So it reflects in my relationship, I think, with other people as well.
Yeah, so good. Well, I want to say one of the benefits that I saw in your break that I thought is really cool, and even though it's not necessarily an overarching theme, I think it was super powerful. You had this dream of going to Valencia, and you had this dream since childhood, and you've never been. And so one of the coolest things I think you did early on in your break is you planned this pretty significant trip to Europe, and you honored a childhood dream of going to Valencia, and you ended up there doing the Las Fallas Festival. But for me, it was really powerful to see you living and fulfilling a dream that was so long ago born, And I think so often our brains as adults turn on and say, well, that's just a childhood dream. Like, why should I honor that? Like, that's silly. But I think that was a big gift, is you nurturing yourself in that way and saying, like, even the little parts of you, like the little kid part of Juliana gets her dream too, and making space for that.
Yes, Katrina, absolutely. I think that was huge, because we have to honor them. And I think we have to honor these things also, like it's on a soul level. You know, for me, honoring that, it was something that it was part of my life's purpose to do what I did. It was part of my life's purpose to go to Valencia and honor that, because I've been thinking about this since I was like, I don't know, 7 years old. Why Valencia? I have no clue. I mean, kind of do. It's kind of like a random thing. I found it on a globe. I literally had like one of those table globes. I spin it, I put my finger on it, and I said, one day I'm going to go to this place. And I just had that thing in my head. Running. When am I going to do this? And now it was like, I have to go to Valencia. And, you know, it was beautiful. It was amazing. I was there doing this festival where they burn these huge sculptures that cost like hundreds of thousands of euros. And at the last day of this festival, they burned them. And to me, it felt, oh my gosh, this is the perfect metaphor for the life that I'm living right now, like burning the old to recreate the new, you know? And I went to Valencia right early on. It was like week 2 of my break, I was there. And it was like all this magic started really unfolding, you know, after I started burning, you know, stuff and creating space for the phoenix to come out of the ashes. I know it's kind of like a cheesy metaphor, but it kind of felt that way.
Yeah, and now like you're going to be on a podcast too, like a guest on a podcast to talk about it. So I feel like it still keeps living on in its own way. Juliana, thank you so much for like coming to have this conversation and being, you know, just so real, so honest about your experience and the fact that it's amazing, and that doesn't mean that it wasn't hard or that there aren't challenges and moments along the way. So I'm going to ask you a question. I didn't prep you for this, that I asked Karen at the end. So we worked together, right? And you invested several $1,000s in coaching over the experience preparing and then navigating your break. If I were to give you back the money that you paid, and I'm going to write you a check so you can put it back in your bank account and you can see that number go up, would you take the check if we had to erase everything that we've done together? If I could give you the money back, but you had to undo it, would you take it?
Oh my gosh, no way. No way. It was the best investment that I've done for myself. It was money well spent in so many levels. Like, and you know, it's been fascinating. Your work has, like I said, I started by saying it was life-changing. It's been life-changing. It is. It's the gift I gave to myself that keeps on giving.
I love that.
So, yeah.
I love that so much. Juliana, you're so incredible.
That's the gift that you need to give to yourself, all of this gift. Invest in yourself, invest in these things that are important to you. Anybody, I think, can take a career break on their own without having to go through a career break coach, but I think it would have been a very different experience. I really don't think I would be as empowered or even have gone on my second European trip if not for you. I would not have seen the connection between like all these things that, you know, you have a framework that really helps me stay focused and centered. And not just a framework of that, but like our coach and our ongoing sessions really help me to conquer these struggles, human struggles that I've had as life unfolded, right, all this life. So 100% recommend you always. I think you're amazing.
I love that. I love you. Thank you so much for making time to come share with us, Juliana. And I hope people go check out your blog, globaljuliana.com, because it's so beautiful and the stuff you write is incredible. So yeah, thank you for your time, lady. And I'm going to reach out to you to find out more about the job now that it's like official. But you know, you had such a great story to share. So thank you so much for making time to share it with us.
Thank you, Katrina. All right.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
Talk soon. Bye, Juliana.
Bye-bye.